You know that moment when someone just stares at you, not saying a word, and you feel like you're being measured? Here's the truth. Silence doesn't mean nothing's happening. It's the fastest way someone shows they won't bend to your expectations. Let's dive straight into that unsettling stare, the one that lingers without a word, making you squirm inside. Why does it hit like that? It starts with the basic rhythm of human conversation, something we take for granted until it's broken. In everyday interactions, we expect a flow. You speak, I respond, back and forth like a well-oiled machine. But when someone just stares silently, they shatter that rhythm. Research on group conversations shows that even brief silences, as short as 4 seconds, can disrupt this flow, triggering negative emotions like rejection or unease. These pauses aren't just empty. They interrupt the seamless exchange that makes us feel connected and validated. Suddenly, the silence forces you to question what's going on. Am I being judged? Do they disagree? This disruption isn't accidental. It's the first layer of why silence signals refusal to yield. By not filling the gap, the silent person holds the reins, making you the one who has to adapt or break first. And here's where it connects deeper. That feeling of being measured stems from an instinctive power shift. The stare amplifies the silence, turning it into a tool that probes your reactions without giving away theirs. Building on that disrupted flow, consider how this power shift plays out in real-time dynamics. When someone stares directly and holds their silence, it's not passive, it's a display of dominance that elicits specific responses based on perceived power levels. Studies on gaze behavior reveal that sustained direct gaze prompts avoidance in those who feel lower in power, like instinctively looking away or shifting uncomfortably, while those feeling higher in power might lean in or approach. This isn't random. It's rooted in how our brains process social cues. The staring silent person is essentially signaling, I'm not rushing to meet your need for words or reassurance. They refuse to complement your expectations of verbal engagement, which disrupts the usual back and forth complementarity in interactions. Instead of bending to the norm of polite chit-chat, they force a reevaluation. You end up measuring yourself against their unflinching gaze. This avoidance response in the receiver highlights why silence feels. Measuring it exposes vulnerabilities, like whether you'll fill the void or hold your ground too. The principle here is that power isn't always about action. It's about withholding, creating a vacuum that pulls the other person off balance. This leads naturally to the strategic side. Silence isn't just a reaction. It's often a deliberate move to maintain control without conceding ground. Pushing further into that strategic withholding, uncomfortable silences wield subtle power by pressuring the other side to act. In negotiations or everyday standoffs, a pause after a statement like staring without responding can make the speaker reflect or even concede points they wouldn't otherwise. For instance, in business settings, holding silence for 3 to 5 seconds after a pitch often leads the other party to elaborate or agree, as the quiet creates space for doubt or reconsideration. This isn't manipulation for its own sake. It's about not bending to the expectation of immediate verbal feedback. Culturally, this varies. English speakers might fidget after just a second or two, viewing extended pauses as awkward, while in Japanese contexts, silences up to 8 seconds are seen as respectful reflection, a sign of not rushing to impose one's views. The staring element intensifies this. It keeps the interaction visual and intense, signaling, I'm present, but on my terms. Why does this show refusal to bend? Because in a world wired for constant talk to build rapport, choosing silence flips the script. It demands the other person adjust their expectations, perhaps by speaking more or backing down. This pressure explains the being measured sensation. You're being tested on how you handle the void, revealing your own thresholds for discomfort. And this ties into broader meanings. Silence isn't monolithic. Its power lies in its ambiguity, which can empower the silent one while disempowering the responder. Delving into those meanings, silence in social psychology carries layers that explain its depth as a refusal tool. It can embody empowerment, acting as a quiet authority that controls the emotional tone without words. For example, leaders often use deliberate silence to heighten anticipation or underscore a point, making their eventual words more impactful. In dominance contexts, this translates to staring silently as a way to assert presence without verbal concession. Think of it as a metaphorical hold that forces acknowledgement. The ambiguity of silence makes it potent. It leaves room for interpretation, often anxiety-inducing for the receiver, who might fill it with their own insecurities. This refusal to engage verbally isn't weakness. It's a strategic resistance, protecting one's stance or privacy by not yielding to the demand for explanation. Socioculturally, in cultures valuing verbal expression like the West, this stands out more starkly as defiance, while in others, like Nordic or Japanese societies, it's normalized as modesty. The principle? Silence disrupts expected social scripts, revealing power imbalances where the silent starer won't bend, compelling you to confront why their non-response feels so probing. It's not just about the moment. It echoes deeper human needs for validation, which silence withholds to maintain leverage. This empowerment links back to how interactions reshape around it, often uncovering hidden dynamics we ignore in noisy exchanges. From there, we see how silence reshapes the very fabric of interactions, tying into expectations and non-verbal layers. When someone stares silently, they're not absent, they're hyper-present through gaze, which acts as a silent dialogue, signaling attentiveness or challenge. This forces others to rely on non-verbal cues, like gestures or expressions, to bridge the gap, but the starer controls that too by withholding. Experiments with days of silence show that this shifts power. Quieter people might talk more, filling the void, while the silent one discovers their influence in not responding. Expectations flip friends might assume anger or secrets, projecting their own discomfort onto the silence. The staring adds intensity, making you feel measured because it probes without reciprocity, refusing to meet your verbal cues. This reveals a core principle. Human connections thrive on mutual bending, like adjusting to each other's rhythms, but silence halts that, exposing who yields first. It's why that stare feels like a fast track to defiance. It bypasses words to directly challenge your poise. And ultimately, this chain from flow disruption to power assertion to strategic ambiguity shows how a simple act uncovers profound social wiring. Wrapping this deeper, that everyday stare-silence combo isn't trivial. It's a window into our evolved social machinery, where withholding speech enforces boundaries faster than any argument. Starting from the broken conversational rhythm that breeds unease, escalating to gaze-driven power plays that trigger avoidance or approach, then to the tactical pauses that extract concessions without effort, these layers interlock to explain why silence screams refusal. It doesn't just happen. It exploits our innate drive for harmony, turning your expectations against you. The ambiguity empowers the silent one, reshaping interactions to reveal unspoken hierarchies and personal thresholds. In essence, it's a masterclass in nonconformity. By not bending, they make you question your own stance, proving that true influence often whispers through absence. Oh, and realizing this transforms those awkward moments into insights about human resilience and control. If this insight resonates with you, subscribe for more psychology-based explorations of human behavior. Have you ever felt a silent stare shift the dynamics in a conversation? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear and discuss.